Hi, I hope you're having a wonderful day. It is a beautiful spring day, and today we're at Malvern at the RHS Malvern Spring Festival. This should be a wonderful experience, and it's just going to be flowers, flowers, and horticulture, so much of all of it. So let's go enjoy this show, and let's start out right here at the Floral Marquee. Starting out here, going into the Floral Marquee, we just entered the show, and this is all about flowers. Coming in, I'm seeing these magnificent pitcher plants. These are magnificent and beautiful. Wow, these are so large. Oh, I think I see a sundew here, which are unusual. I love the carnivorous plants because they're just so special and unique. Of course, you have to have peat to grow them in, very special growing conditions. They also can't tolerate tap water and things of that sort, carbonated, chlorinated water. That's bad for them. Can only use rainwater on them. So they have some special care conditions. But as far as being beautiful plants to add to your garden or to add into your floral, they're really good for that. Here is another king sundew, and you don't see them this large very often, but this is a magnificent sundew, and I can actually see tiny insects which are trapped all up and down the leaves of this sundew plant. So the sundew plant is really nice, but I love the pitcher plants because these pitchers are so tall, narrow and down at the end. I may actually purchase some of these because you can't find them everywhere. These are really beautiful. But this whole space is just filled from end to end with so many wonderful plants, and we'll try to cover as much of it as we can. But let's work our way around. We've passed the sundews, and we've passed the carnivorous plants, and right here next to them are some beautiful succulents. Here's a display by the National Dahlia Society. This really is early in the spring for having dahlias. They normally bloom much later in the year. But these have been probably brought up in the greenhouse, and nice little plants with beautiful blooms here from the Royal Dahlia Society. And here's a display of cottage garden plants. There are some hostas in here, heuchas. I see some salvias, irises. And these are quintessential classic English plants that you'd have in a flower garden, to include a nice little rose bush tucked in there as well. So it's a really nice display. And right next to that would be the fuchsias, which is some of my most favorite plants of all. I don't grow many fuchsia, but these are really beautiful. I've seen much larger displays. Again, this is a spring show, so most of these are coming out of the greenhouse. They'll be much more abundant towards the end of the season, but these are really nice. There are so many different types of plants on display here, and here we have a massive display of beautiful orchids. I've never really grown a lot of orchids, but I've always appreciated the petals because the petals are just so beautiful. And then the sizes change, the colors are changing constantly. The orchids are so beautiful, but you have to have some very special growing conditions for them. So I'm kind of steered away. I do know that some are easier to grow than others, but this is a beautiful display of orchids. Excuse me. I always get the name wrong. How do you pronounce them?
Bougainvillea.
Bougainvillea?
Some say bougainvillea. I say bougainvillea.
Bougainvillea. Okay, thank you. And here are some truly magnificent bougainvillea. I always get that name wrong, but I love this plant. This is a magnificent plant. Of course, it is completely tropical and can't take anything near frost, but if you have the right conditions for it, it's really wonderful. I guess if you grow it outdoors, keep it in a pot, and in the fall, bring it in. You can save it till next year, but definitely don't leave this outside during the fall season and into the winter. It will not be here for you next year. It's magnificent tropical. And here's something I haven't seen a lot of here in the UK, and these are chrysanthemums, and there's such a wide variety for sale. Reds and pinks and blues and yellows. I love the habit of chrysanthemums because they come back year after year when I've grown them in the past, and what they can tend to do is make this nice rounding, you can see it here, And in the fall, you get that shape where it's all rounded and you just cover with blooms. And that is magnificent. And here's some mums that have clearly been grown indoors, but look at this coloration here. These are similar to what I used to grow, these nice little burgundy ones, but the burgundy and pink is a great color combination. And here you have a chrysanthemums. These chrysanthemums here actually almost look more like dahlias, but they come in with great growth shapes. And this one is beautiful. This is chrysanthemum Miss Golden and chrysanthemum Dutchy. I'm not sure which is which, but wow, look at these. I love this pom-pom flower. It's so magnificent. And then these colors just keep going. It's really beautiful. So we picked a couple of the 17. Okay. So we picked up some really wonderful chrysanthemums here because I wanted to get, thank you. And although we couldn't get this golden color because they're sold out, we did get two others of this yellow color, and we picked up another one that's a more pale yellow. I just never seen a chrysanthemum with this particular growth habit. It's really beautiful. So these chrysanthemums just keep going because here's chrysanthemum filling white, and then here's chrysanthemum filling green. And that green color is so unique. That's such a unique growth pattern for that particular bloom. And right next to the chrysanthemums are some mints and herbs. And I'm very particular about mints and herbs because I've grown some before, and a lot of them tend to just really take over your garden space. So if you're going to grow some mints and herbs, I would suggest keeping them in a pot. Don't let them bloom, and definitely don't ever let them go to seed because they can tend to take over an entire garden. That's been my experience. And if you have other experience, then drop that down in the comments. And here are some really unique clematis. We have one of these growing at home, but what I really like is this one, Clematis Josephine, because that is a beautiful bloom on that one. A lot of petals, and then two petal types. Actually, it looks like almost three, but definitely two petal types. These are some really magnificent clematis.
How do you know they're not hibiscus? Are you looking at the bloom or are you looking at the plant?
And here are some truly magnificent peonies. These are on sale, but right below us are some peonies that's been grown in greenhouse, and you can see what those look like in just a moment. Those are some beautiful blooms. I don't think I'm going to pick up any of these, but I love peonies, and they have some great varieties here. But let's go look at the blooms. Now in the U.S., peonies are favored at weddings, and you can see why, with these big blousy petals and this beautiful full and single, and the fragrance, I can smell it, is so fragrant right here. These are some magnificent peonies. Oh, excuse me. And here's one of the most impressive peonies that I've ever seen. This is Coral Charm. And look at that pale yellow color. I don't think I've ever seen one quite that color. And behind it is a soft salmon saucer, which is another magnificent peony. And then there's Pillow Talk. I have seen Pillow Talk before with just those massive amount of petals. And then here's a very fragrant peony directly in front of me, but I can't see the name. This is Duchess de Nemours, Mother's Choice. Just a great selection of peonies. Peonies are wonderful plants. If you plant them, they'll come back year after year for so many years. I've had some for at least a decade or longer, and I know some that are much older than that. So peonies are wonderful plants. They bloom in the spring, and they're absolutely magnificent. Now here's a really great selection of properly labeled pelargoniums. These are typically from South Africa. These varieties have been really modified and cultivated, so you got a lot of colors and variety here. You don't normally see them labeled properly. I love to see the fact here at this RHS show they're labeled as pelargoniums. They're not called geraniums, because in many cases people call them geraniums, but they are pelargoniums. And here's a wonderful selection of pelargoniums in bloom. Here's some unique grasses. Grasses are really great to add to a garden. They really add a lot of different color, variety, and shape. They can also add height depending on its height of the grass. But next to the grasses, because I don't have any of those, but I'm in love with the succulents and the cacti. Now these are some beautiful succulents. I have some of these at home, but nowhere near as large or as impressive as these. The floral abundance at this show just keeps going. And here we have some really magnificent little bonsai. A lot of these are acers and different other varieties. I see acers, I see some yew, but bonsai is so unique. Let's look at some of the larger ones. This is a really impressive Japanese white pine bonsai. There's a Japanese maple and a nice bonsai form as well. And here's a magnificent display of acers. These are beautiful plants. I've tried to grow them many times in the past, but they really need some very special growth conditions. They also grow incredibly slow. So if you buy a small one, it's going to be a small one for a very long time. They're really beautiful. If you ever get them going, get those right growth conditions for them. But these Japanese maples are beautiful. I love the burgundy colors here, also in contrast with the chartreuse. There's also a great selection of camellia. These are Japanese flowering plants. Now, the thing about camellia is that they don't tend to have any smell, but they bloom. You can get them to bloom at different times of year. Some will bloom in the spring, some will bloom in the winter, and then some will bloom at different times of year. So if you get multiple ones and you know when they bloom, you can have camellias blooming for most of the times across the year. I had one that used to bloom in December, and I had others that bloomed in the spring. So I had camellias blooming for quite a while in my yard when I had those all set up. But these camellia are nice. I love to see a different variety because there are multiple types. I don't see some of the petals types that I like, but these are nice. I think this is a really nice one as well. Here you can see this pink. That's a pretty petal. Camellias to me are all about the petal, but they grow as a shrub. Some can't get as large as a small tree, so you have to know what you're getting when you get them, but they're beautiful plants. Now, these say that these varieties bloom from October to May. So like I say, you can get varieties that bloom across a very broad spectrum of the year. But this is a very blousy camellia. This is Hawaii, and I like that. Blooms, really blousy, really beautiful open petal. Here, this company is called New Forest Hosta and Hermicalis, which I know is daylilies, but they have some truly magnificent hosta here. Now, these hosta with the stems that are red are kind of unique. That's kind of hard to find, but there are some other varieties here as well. I love the chartreuse and here's one that's very unique. That's just a green with this red at the base. It's green with the purple, kind of a burgundy color at the base, kind of going down. That's a nice color there. I love hosta. These are shade. They can't take full sun. They will burn in full sun. But if you can get those right growing conditions, a nice shaded condition that's a little moist, with a bit of moisture, you can have a magnificent hosta. I will say though, hosta are a favorite of rabbits and deer. So when I've grown them, you're always fighting wildlife who also loves to eat them.
No,
Yeah,
iris.
no, you're right. Here's a display of Namisa, which have blooms that look a lot like orchids. It looks a lot like orchid bloom, a little bit like iris blooms. I'm not very familiar with this plant, but it's really nice. So this is why I come to these shows as well, because I don't know everything. And this is a plant that I'm going to go look up to see if I can find out a lot more about it. Namisa. If you know something about that, drop down in the comments. Let me know what you know about Namisa. This is a beautiful plant. I love the colors, and it is very fragrant. And here are some lilies. You can still get these and plant them and grow them out this summer. We're getting towards the end of the year for the tulips, but you can get a good look at what the tulips will look like. Here's one that's ice cream, a double blooming tulip. It hasn't bloomed yet, but a lot of these tulips are in full bloom. A lot of them out in the wild have already bloomed, but you get some great color with tulips. You can kind of look now and see what you want to plant for next year. I see a lot of varieties here that are unique. This orange, variegated orange, and this orange and yellow, very open. open petal. Here's another one that's very similar to that with another red and yellow, kind of a red and yellow, a very open petal tulip. Both of those are really magnificent. Another great selection of carnivorous pitcher plants. And again, pitcher plants, a lot of them actually originated from the United States around the Carolinas, but I love this little red sundew. A magnificent display of lilies. I love these lilies. A lot of different varieties here. This was a nice one. Almost as good as that's a beautiful one. Nymph. And then Olympia right beside it. And here's Dark Secret. Original Love. There's some magnificent lilies here. Just wonderful displays. And here is a blend of begonia and coleus. Look at this, Black Knight begonia and begonia mint tea. And behind it are some magnificent variegated coleus. Just so many wonderful flowers here on display. Walter Turner is another coleus that is really nice. There's so many wonderful flowers on sale and on display in this pavilion, so many wonderful things to see. But hey, this is just one pavilion. This is a larger show. Let's go and see what else is here because I've seen all of this. Let's go see what else we can find. So we're heading out of this pavilion, but here are some magnificent dianthus. I love dianthus because it really looks like grass. It has a great growth habit. It's not hard to grow. It comes back year after year, but you kind of have to protect it to get this bloom out of it. I've planted them in flower beds before. You can mistake it for grass early in the season. So I would keep it in a pot just like it's potted up here, but these are some magnificent colors. And here is a plant that I know is so popular in the UK. I just don't see it very often in the US, but this is delphinium. And I love the colors, the blues. The blues is such a unique color, the blues and the burgundies and the whites. You can't really find these colors in a lot of flowers, but I just don't see this plant in the US very often. But here, in full bloom, delphinium is a magnificent, stately flower. Sometimes you come to these shows and you find things you've never seen. Here are some daffodils, and they are really beautiful. Now, I've seen something similar to this one before, and you can get the full-petaled multi-bloom like that. When you walk back and you get this apricot, Wayland, look at that one, really nice. My Dearest. And then on this end, that's one I can think you'll find, but I've never seen one quite like this one, which is Fire Drill. Look at those bloom patterns on that. That petal is so unique. And that's why I come to these shows. And here is a truly unique canna. I've never seen canna this small before. This is only about a foot tall. Canna can get up to about 6 to 7 feet tall, and I've seen them at about 4 to 5 feet tall. But these are blooming at about a foot tall. Truly unique canna. Coming out of the floral marquee, we're right next to this is the section where they have set up all the food trucks. There's buttermilk fried chicken and brisket and churros and ice cream. So we might end up at there later. But let's continue looking for more flowers and flower breeders and breeds. So here's the Kitchen Garden Theater. There was a lot of people listening to this presentation. We're going to keep moving around though. We're still here just looking specifically at the plants. If we get an opportunity to listen to some of the great talks that they're having, we will definitely do that. But let's see what other plants we can find. And here's a whole section of really beautiful garden displays. I like these a lot. I think this is like something that the youth at the local schools may have put together. because I see a lot of things here that kids made and some unique features as well, some of these displays.
Terrific. I'm thrilled to see
So these flower displays are absolutely blowing my mind because all of this was put in just over the last short period here, and it's all going to be taken out when this show is over. But it is such a magnificent display overall. And then the artists who are on display here, really beautiful. One of the most striking aspects of this show are the artists who clearly have all the displays on design. Here you can see a lot of metal work and woodwork, but mostly metal because metal will have the longest longevity in the garden setting. Wood tends to be corroded by the wind and the rain and the sun. This metal will also be corroded, but it has a greater chance of lasting much longer than, say, the other aspects of wooden artwork. Now this is a section that I was trying to get to because there's a lot of things for sale out here. But one of the things I'm excited about is this section here. This is a propagation place that you can see that this is where they're selling really just garden focused aspects. If you like to have things hanging in your garden, hanging around your garden, just not a fan. I'm not a fan of the garden gnomes and things of that sort, but a lot of people do like it. But Dominic K plants, you have some really beautiful plants here. This is what I was hoping to find, some other plants. Now this blue, I have to figure out what that is because I'm not familiar with that, but it's just a striking, a bit darker than a sky blue, but it's a very striking plant. Some of these are poppies and some of them are gems. Just some great plants here. Just a lot of great nurseries out here, and I love to see also these massive terracotta pots, although you'd have to get these delivered to home. I mean, some of these are truly, what's about 3 feet tall there. This is going to weigh a tremendous amount, so I don't know how you transport this home, but it's great to see what they have on display. I'm pretty sure they can transport that for you. And here's a small pavilion for all of your garden tools, and this is nice because I have most of these already, but if you needed some spades, shovels, scoops, hoses, this place could help you out. More garden artwork. Now this with the really those dandelions cut out of it. If you could put a light inside of that at night, that would be absolutely beautiful. Those single columns are really impressive and really hard to do as far as welding is concerned, to cut those shapes out. These are really nice. Of course, I would expect to see the lawnmowers here. There's so many wonderful aspects of gardening because you're going to need that lawnmower to cover cut all that grass back if you have a large place. You need that space outside of your flower beds. And this will be the future of lawn maintenance. And these are some really unique hydrangea. I love these stems on these blooms. I don't think I've ever seen a hydrangea quite like these. These are oak leaf hydrangea, but this is hydrangea fireworks blue. That is a really unique hydrangea. You really could spend an entire day, really 2 days out here, just trying to see everything, to take it all in. There's just so much to see, so many plants varieties, as well as so many other aspects of, well, this is just beautiful tree peonies. Those are hard to find. You don't see those very often. But you spend a lot of time out here just looking at all of these magnificent plants and also all the other aspects of gardening that's all rolled up into this Raw Horticulture Show. And this isn't a show, it's a festival.